Greetings, fam. This is Coach Jason Leon, and you are listening to the Positive Perspectives Podcast. We have a special guest, Miss AJ, who has a show on YouTube called Just Everything with AJ. And we wanted to do a collaboration to talk a little bit about current events in the entertainment industry. This one's going to be fun, so let's dive into the discussion.
All right. This is Just Everything with AJ, and of course, you already know you're with Coach, the Coach Jason.
You with the coach?
Today we're going to talk about a few things, but we're going to start with, probably mostly about Caresha. If you are not aware of who Caresha is part of the rap duo City Girls. They kind of blew up in, I think it was 2017, 2016, and they've kind of been on the spotlight ever since. They've kind of seen some waning of their fame, and some unfortunate situations have arisen. Yeah. So Caresha ended up being able to break out from kind of doing rapping. She still was doing music, but she ended up getting a show called Caresha Please, which was kind of teed up for her by Diddy because he was on the Revolt board, or he was high up in there. He's since resigned, of course, since all the craziness. Right. But she got that show through him, and on the show, when he was a guest, she was like, okay, so she asked him, what are we? And he was kind of like, dancing around it. And she was like, oh no, we go together. Like that's what that whole thing, like me and you, we go together real bad. That was actually a statement. That clip became viral. But it's just kind of sad also to see just the way, because she was very pushing that relationship more than Diddy was. Diddy was kind of just like, we're doing stuff. He was still sponsoring her lifestyle, but he kind of didn't seem to want to come out as being attached to her.
Right. Interesting. I mean, in light of recent events with his lifestyle, maybe that was part of the player lifestyle. I'm not going to claim you, but we could be in a situationship.
I guess so. I mean, and also during that time period, crazily, she actually had mentioned she wanted to have a baby, and I guess it was generally the idea was with Diddy. She wanted to maybe have twins or just a baby in general, and then he got someone else pregnant during the time period. So it just was crazy. But what I really wanted to talk about after we go into the backstory of her and Diddy is that she's now come under fire more so because she just now unfollowed Diddy, and there's been a whole bunch of craziness going around with Diddy. That video was released with him and Cassie, and him of course attacking her. But I just had some thoughts on now there wasn't a whole lot about her backstory. I did find a lot about JT's, but her backstory, it seems that I think Trina is her godmother or something.
That's right. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. And then her mom, I think at some point ended up going to jail for a high speed chase where a person was unfortunately unalive during that period of time. Right. So, but I just had some thoughts on Caresha now and just the way her career could go or is going now, because it does seem like there is a decline. She's trying to do her whole reinventing and Yams era. I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
But I wanted to have here with Coach Jason, so he could kind of analyze this from a psychological, perspective.
From a shuka.
Exactly, from that.
That's what people think psychology is anyway. It's like, like, no, it's not a foreign language. When I was thinking about her situation, one of the things that struck me as interesting is that it took her so long to detach herself from P. Diddy in terms of the followership, because in our day and time, when somebody unfollows somebody on social media, that's a big deal, especially if they're higher. Yeah, and right, exactly. And she wasn't the only one. I mean, there's been several people, but as of late, LeBron, he also unfollowed P. Diddy as well. And I'm sure there's been others, but like I said, we know those folks, those are big names, right? Mm-hmm. And so because of their relationship and because it seemed like she was such a staunch supporter of him, that's interesting. But based on the tabloids, and I don't know how accurate this is, but it seems as though P. Diddy wasn't sponsoring her lifestyle. I guess he was giving like her $500,000 a month or whatever. I think that was the that's what I was saying.
250, but 500 might be right too. Either way, 250,000 or 500, that's all a lot of money.
But either way you look at it, and so I thought it was interesting that she unfollowed him, and I'm the interesting thing to me is, A, did she unfollow him because, the money's not there anymore? Or B, was it the scandal, all the heat that he has right now? Or was it a mixture of all of those? And I'm going to go with B. I'm going to say it was a mixture of everything, all of that stuff. And to protect her brand that she didn't necessarily create it, but she did maintain it. You know, it was her charisma that kept it going. People wanted to be on her show because she has a knack for being able to interview folks, even though she has her own style. So that's her thing. But in terms of from looking at it from a psychological standpoint, survival mode is basically fight or flight. That's more like this is a really bad analogy, but I'm gonna use it because it's funny. But it reminds me of the if you were trapped with a bear with a man, right?
But here, let's deviate really quick to go to the bear man conversation, because I think that we had slightly different perspectives on this when we talked about it on social media. And to me, I'm thinking that, so the whole thing is that people are, like you said, survival mode. People want to survive, and they feel like if they pick the bear, at least, you know, the bear might eat them. But then if the bear's not hungry, he also might not do anything. He might just go about his way. Whereas a strange man is less predictable, and also they don't just kill you. There's a lot of other things that go into oppression. They don't just unalive you. They don't just unalive you. Other things can go into that. So I was saying that I understand people picking, you know, the bear. And then there was a video that, to give more context to why we were having a different disagreement on it. There's a video where a woman was saying that in a lot of situations, she was saying, you are the bear, like you're difficult. And also I can't tell that you don't like these men because you're running back to them every moment that you get a chance to. And so I'll let my dad give his perspective of that.
Right. So since then I've had a chance to kind of refine my viewpoint, but I do understand what the young lady was saying about, you know, sometimes you are the bear. I get it. Basically, sometimes I'm my worst enemy is what she was saying. Sometimes I'm the enemy, and I'm sitting up here saying that I would rather be with a bear than a man, and I tend to be I can be the problem in certain situations. So there's that piece. But to your point about the bear having the mentality of, well, if it's, you know, if it wants to maul you, or if it feels threatened, then it will maul you. But if it doesn't really want to bother you, then it won't bother you, because psychologically bears don't think in terms of, I'm just gonna play with you. I'm just gonna, you know, do all kinds of things bears wouldn't think to do, because men meaning humans, not men, but humans can be pretty, you know, diabolical, and you know, we have a lot of different faculties at play that we can use to torment people. A bear is either going to kill you or leave you alone. Kill you, eat you, leave you alone. That's it. That's the modes they're going to go for. But men, we like, well, we might do this, we might do that, we might keep you around, but we can, you know, psychologically damage somebody, or we can emotionally damage people for very long periods of time.
Yeah.
So there's that. So I do get it. I get it. So it's a weird conundrum. I mean, I don't know how we got there, you know.
True. I also, it's actually a shame that we are at this point. I do feel like I was doing a post. I'm going to bring it back around. But I was reading a post where it was basically talking about, it really was talking about God, and basically where was he during slavery? And someone was saying that he was like, he's where he's always been. But the point of the post was saying that humans basically have done this to each other. Like, we are the cause of these problems. And it seems like since the beginning of time, we haven't really changed much, because instead of being like, we should probably fix society, like we need to work on some things in a broader spectrum with humanity. Instead of doing that, it's more of deflection, blaming, like, hey, God, why aren't you doing anything well?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, in the coaching world, you know, when we're talking to clients and you know, folks are on the edge, or they're teeter-tottering whether or not they want to, you know, subscribe to coaching services, or heck, even if you're talking about going to see a therapist, you know, folks are like, I don't know, do I really need this? And then the question that we tend to ask, and this is true of all humanity, is, you know, or I'm not the question, the kind of the one of the statements that we tend to make is, and so, you know, you're here now, and your best thinking got you to where you are right now. So if this is your best thinking and it got you to where you are now, it means you might need some help.
Well, I actually like that statement though.
Yeah.
Oddly, just to piggyback off, that reminds me of something that someone that we both know was saying about children, but I felt like it relates to adults as well. Basically, like, if you keep telling someone, no, don't do it that way, no, don't do that this way, they're going to find another way to do it. And in their mind, like, because you haven't told them the right way to do it, all they can do is replace it with their own answers. And if their answers were wrong before, how can you expect them to come out with a good answer, because it's still off of their own knowledge? You haven't given them anything to work with.
Right. Or they haven't even sought out, you know, additional resources to find out if there's another answer. It's again
That's
their best thinking. This is what I know, and the extent of what you know is what you know. So you might need to go outside of the your knowledge and find out what's going on.
and I
It-
think that that's bringing it back to Carisha and also like some people in the hip hop world in general. Like
yeah,
I think that they have enough people influencing them other places to go outside and get other knowledge. They're just really sticking to what they know and what is on their own knowledge.
Woo!
And,
Yes.
and this is where we are. Like
See silo mentalities oh my gosh, this is probably like one of the things I'm probably really passionate about. I always said that I should be a coach to celebrities, but so because the thing is though, when you're trapped in a bubble, you tend to not be able to see outside of that bubble. And so whatever you know is what you know. The people you rock with is the people you rock with. You won't mess with these people because you don't know these people, right? But it does take some folks that are trusted people, or people that can be vouched for, at least outside of your circle, to be able to give you an outside perspective, because
yeah,
that's really what it takes to break you out of your bubble, to say, oh man, I never thought about that way. And the reason why I say is because I look at historical examples of folks that were broken out of their bubble. They had the opportunity to be in different spaces with different circles. I take the man from Marcy Projects, the billionaire named Jay-Z, you
oh
know, came from nothing, right? And he had to get out of that bubble. A lot of the folks that we know that are, at least in the Black community, that are billionaires today, were in their specific bubble, and they had to get out of that bubble in order to be able to advance and to progress to where they are now. So I think that's where a lot of folks are, even in the hip hop community. Well, specifically like certain types of communities in the
yeah.
celebrity community, I should put it that way. But yeah, they're in a bubble.
Well, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, which is understandable, but I think it just definitely, especially with celebrities, this makes me think of another video I wanted to do. But in my mind, it's like being on an airplane, but I like the bubble analogy as well. But like when you're on an airplane and you look down, everything is really small. It's a distorted view of reality because things aren't really that small. Those people
right.
aren't really that small, but it looks so tiny down there. So you kind of lose that perspective. So I think that a lot of celebrities, like it makes me think of that Whoopi Goldberg thing. Where it's like, yeah, people just need, and Kim Kardashian, they both kind of said similar things where you just need to work harder. Like a lot of people don't want to work anymore. And it's like, you don't realize that you're out of touch because you're trapped in your little celebrity bubble. But while you've been up there, we've been down here struggling.
Right. We are working hard. They're doing the best that they know how to do where they are, so
With what they have.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
But
Well,
bringing it back,
can I break an analogy down real quick?
yes,
Just real quick. So when we talk about the hard work, and I think about value, right? You got the value of two people that are working hard. You have an engineer that designs a building, and then you have the laborer, like the construction worker or the carpenter, or whatever, that uses the designs that the engineer makes to build the building. So you have to ask yourself who works hard, right? They both work hard. One is mentally working hard to build it, to engineer this thing so it doesn't collapse, right? But the other person works hard 10, 12 hours, back-breaking labor, building this stuff, sawing wood, hammering nails, making bricks, whatever. So they're both working hard, but then it becomes a question of value. Whose work is more valuable? They're both valuable because they both do something, but whose work is more valuable, right? And in other words, generally speaking, the engineer is going to get paid more because his work is seen as more value. His or her work is seen as more valuable because it's the design of the building versus the person that actually builds the building, or even the housekeeper that cleans the building. Hard workers, honest labor, but they're not going to get paid as much as the CEO or the person that owns the building.
yeah. But I mean, it's kind of hard because like with capitalism, you can't really.
Yeah.
Wait, were you gonna finish? Did you have more to say before I?
No, I'm good. I wanted to hear your response on that. I don't. You don't have to agree with me. It's fine.
So I feel like all of them are, well, I don't know. People on the top, that's a little different, but like everybody on those base levels, I feel like they're all working hard. I understand that people have to be paid different because otherwise, if everybody was paid, let's say $20 an hour, then there might be some jobs that are lacking because some jobs are just not as fun as other jobs, or not fun isn't probably not the right word, but some jobs are just not the best fit for you.
Right.
And if there's a lot of people who agree that it's not the best fit for them, like maybe we'll say construction, like that's hard labor. If everybody's making $20 an hour, we might not have a lot of people in construction because they can do another job and make the same money.
Right.
So I get that, but I've actually thought about this before. I feel like just because you're getting paid less, it's kind of weird that people it's weird that your value goes with the money that you're making, if that makes sense. Like before we ever had capitalism, I mean, I'm sure
Mhm.
that it's been centuries now that we've had it, or centuries, however long we've had capitalism. Y'all get it.
Right.
Um, you were a human first. Like before you were a product, a brand, before you
Hmm.
were making money, you were human. So I don't know why we can't just value people on a human level. Like the person who's cleaning, one is almost the most important person, because the thing is, everything is dirty. No one is going to want to come. There's going to be bugs, diseases. So I'd say the person on the bottom would have the most value for a company, but it's not going to be seen that way because they're not making the money. So,
Well, here's another way to see it.
mhm.
The person that employs gives the person gainful employment, and also you get what you negotiate too, because you can,
That's
if you
true.
want to negotiate a higher salary. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to get over $40 an hour to clean an office. I don't know. I don't know that I guess you get what you negotiate. But my point being is that the person may not have that employment if there wasn't the person that owned the building, or the person that hired the person, the
I mean,
engineer
that's
builder. So
true.
like you said, I believe that they're valuable, and I don't. I'm not saying this. They're not valuable. They are valuable. They have a lot of value.
Mhm.
You said the same thing when I was having this conversation with somebody else. It's like I said the same thing you said. It's like, well, there's the disease process. There's all of this stuff. So they're important. Very, very important. Very important. But at the same token, there's a lot more folks that are available to clean and do certain things like
Well,
that than there are folks that are at the top.
I mean, that is a good point,
So,
though.
so
I,
that's why I say it's not that they're worth less as humans. We have the immeasurable value, especially in God's eyes. But it's just that in terms of cost and labor, it gets kind of freaky when you think about that.
yes, I agree. What I wanted to ask you about is if you could
Yeah.
define what scarcity or poverty mindset, whichever one, or both of them. I think that maybe they're two different things, or maybe they're the same. But either way, could you talk about that a little bit so that we can?
Yeah, yeah, and I'll give a basic answer. I'm not going to go too deep into the all of the different points and stuff like that. But so scarcity mindset would be a subset of fixed mindset,
Mhm.
which means fixed means that you are what you are. You won't get any further than what you are right now. Whatever you are right now is the best that you're ever going to be. That's kind of like a fixed mindset. So a lot of people with fixed mindsets are afraid of challenges. They have a fear of progressing. So scarcity mindset is basically that what I have in my hand is what I have in my hand, and it's less likely that I'm going to get more of it. So I'm going to hoard what I have, right? I'm going to hoard it. I'm going to hold on to it, grip it tight as I can, because I don't know if I'm ever going to see it again. So that's your scarcity mindset, right? Whereas your abundance mindset is like, I can lose this money and I can gain it back because I still have my reputation, I still have my skill set, I still have my brain, I still have, all of those things that will cause me to be able to survive or thrive even in a desert situation. I still can make the money back as long as I have my skills and abilities. It doesn't really matter whether I lose it all today, I can get it back. That's a growth mindset. So scarcity is the exact opposite. It's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get it back. I don't know if I have the ability to get it back. I don't know if I'm smart enough to get it back.
I think if he was still paying her, like she wouldn't have cared anything about her appearance in the media. I think that one, I feel like her publicist was probably part of this and was like, "Hey, you
Mm.
got to probably shouldn't follow now." But I
Yeah.
think that if the money was still flowing, she would stay with him. And in my mind,
You think
I don't know,
so?
huh?
You think so?
Well, yeah, because it took her this much. That video of Cassie has been out for what, over a week, and she just she just unfollowed.
What? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. But well, when you say it like that, okay, now I'm gonna take off my psychologist hat. I'm gonna put on my street hat, and I'm thinking, when you say it like that, I was thinking to myself, like you said, she had to talk to somebody else, because I am not going to devalue or diminish her in any way, shape, or form, because I don't know the young lady. Because I think she's intelligent in her way, but she may not have known that it might be smart to cut ties. So she had to have somebody be like, "Yo, you might
I,
need to go ahead and let this go."
I mean, I think she did need that person, but also
Yeah.
I think that her mind is so set on the way that I make the most money is basically what she raps about. The way that I can get this money is by being
Yeah.
attached to a rich man. And so since that's what she has fixed herself on doing, and
Right.
not just doing stuff on her own merit, and just, I mean, she did even no, and not even that wasn't on her own merit. Now that I think about it, JT wanted to start that group. So she just kind of tagged along and it
Right.
kind of worked out very well for her. But like,
Yeah.
I don't think that she's used to doing stuff on her, just on her own name and doing things in the abundant mindset. That's actually, now that I think about it, kind
Mhm.
of solidifies what I was thinking before. But interesting that you
Right.
think, but I think that she's smart, but I think that she has her own, she's limited herself and put herself in this box where she needs
Yeah.
to, because even now she's actually, someone was, don't quote me on this, but someone had pictures of her out with her second baby daddy, I think,
Mhm.
so soon after, unfollowing with Diddy, which is, that's fine, that's her business. But
Yeah.
I think that it kind of goes to my point that she feels like being attached to a man is, who has some kind of means, is the only way that she can get ahead.
Which is interesting because she has means, but and also to the question in my mind, and I think in a lot of people's minds, because I've seen the comments, and a lot of people's minds is, what did you do at $500,000 a month?
Listen,
So you was making, what's that? That's $500,000. So what did you do every 2 months? You were making $1 million. If that was the case, if he was paying 500,000, if he was, that's $1 million every 2 months. Wow.
wow is correct. Like
six
that's,
million dollars a year.
and then what do you have? Because now people are saying that she doesn't have money now, which I wouldn't. She probably still has some kind of money, but I think that a lot of people, when they get to fame, not just Caresha, but like they get up there and they're stuck on this. It reminds me of that analogy where they said like someone gifted a person, a family, a refrigerator because they noticed they didn't have a refrigerator, and then they
Right.
see the same family out on a picnic and they're like, oh, or something, for some reason, he's like, oh, how's the refrigerator doing or whatever, and they're like, oh, we sold the refrigerator to have this picnic. It's like, well,
Yeah, and to your point, I was going to answer that my own questions, like, what did you do with $6 million? Okay, so basically, the way it works with money, and especially in those spaces, we're thinking like us commoners making, between, I don't know, anywhere between $80,000 a year or even $50,000 a year to $150,000 a year, and someone that makes a lot less than that is making minimum wage would be like, oh my God, what I would do at $150,000 a year. Whereas a person that makes $150,000 a year is like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling to pay these bills because the value of the things that you buy, whatever.
yeah.
So when you're at that level, $6 million is, it's like the equivalent of $150,000 because your expenses are higher. You're buying Cartier and you're going to shop at Louis Vuitton.
But you
You
don't
don't,
need to do. That's the thing. You don't need to do any of that stuff. That's
you
stuff that
don't.
people fantasize about once they get big enough. But like,
Right,
then you have situations like this when the down times come.
right,
You don't have
right.
any much to show for it. Like you're sitting here scrambling to make money, and it's like,
Right. That's why you need smart people around you. You need people that are smarter than you around you in your circle that can tell you what to do with your money. I think about LeBron, think about the Jay-Z's, and those are folks that I'm just using because they're tangential to what we're talking about. Those folks have had folks around them that were helping them manage that and learn what to do with their money and don't spend it on everything. Invest in things that will bring you, maximum returns, things that become assets. Real estate's a big one, but I was reading somewhere that she's selling off her she wore some bra from some, it was Gucci, or can't remember what it was, but it was like she sold for like $300,000 or whatever. But it was like, but she's selling. They're saying she's selling off a lot of her stuff now because she's strapped for money. I don't know how true that is,
I
but
yeah, I've heard stuff about her
yeah,
selling things and going broke as well. But
yeah,
it's possible that maybe she's just a little bit more cash poor, because if Diddy was giving her money and also paying for her luxury apartment and also
mhm,
funding other things, like now
yeah,
that you have to cover those things yourself, and if you didn't save the money you got,
yeah,
then yeah, that could be why you would need to sell
mhm,
off some things. Also, it might not be that she's losing. She probably has lost money, of course, because he's not giving her that
right,
$1 million every 2 months.
yeah. Her
But
show's canceled too, right? Or it's on hiatus.
well, it's on hiatus, and I think that she's supposed to. Somebody was saying she's not even somebody. This is actually a thing that she has said, that she has a reality TV show coming out. But the problem is that Diddy was in a lot of those episodes, so now she has to re-record some of
Right.
those, and
That costs money.
yeah,
And networks don't like to spend money, especially if they don't know if there's going to be a return on investment. So
yeah.
there's
And now
that.
that people are not feeling her, it's like,
Right, right. They were giving her the nickname of Caresha Max because they think allegedly she was a part of the ring of getting people into his lair, so to speak. So yeah, they're saying that she was one of the folks that was helping bring bodies in, kind of like the folks that bring bodies to Dracula.
Well, actually, that's a crazy.
That's a weird, crazy analogy.
Actually, if you would think about it, if Diddy could be anything mythically, he would be a vampire.
Diddy a vampire.
Something like that.
Yikes. Yikes. Wow. That was a turn of events.
It was, like, really, like,
Wow.
yeah.
Didn't think about that till that's, well, I'll tell you, you talk long enough, you start coming up with some good
Yeah,
stuff.
I actually didn't think about that either. We should start assigning mythical creatures to everybody. I don't know what Caresha would be, honestly, but
Wow. Yeah.
Fire's assistant, I don't know. But yeah, I think that she put herself in that predicament though, because on her Twitter, when she had those messages where she was messaging the one whose name I cannot remember right now, but one of Diddy's other side girlfriends, when she was like, you know, if I wanted, Diddy would have you on your knees like that. It didn't age well for
Yeah. You know, it's street talk, you know, it's street talk, whatever, but in light of the recent events, it looks bad. It looks real bad.
Yeah, and like, has she come out later and been like, okay, guys, I was not referring to any of that. I didn't know he was doing any of that, but she didn't do that at all. Possibly it's understandable because I think the lawsuit was she was already called, like, going to be part of the whole lawsuit and everything. So maybe that's why maybe her lawyer said just don't speak out about this. But
yeah, I would hope that she has representation that's telling her that. I would hope that her team, whoever her team is, I hope that they're working on her behalf to keep her, you know, just say, just be quiet about that, because, you know, this could come back to haunt you. Stay tuned for next week's show when we wrap up the discussion. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Positive Perspectives Podcast. Peace out.